Welcome to the Go Follow Yeshua podcast. I'm Joshua Erickson, and I'm joined by my good friend Elior Walker, whose idea this podcast was.
God's idea.
God's idea. Yep. And we are God's humble servants, and your servants as well. If we can ever do anything for you, let us know.
Put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments. Let's see what we can do. Okay, so this Torah portion is Miketz, which means um, at the end. So, and that comes from this phrase at the beginning of the portion, which is Genesis chapter 41 through 44,
44,
verse
17.
17.
Yep.
So it kind of stops in the middle there. A little bit of a cliffhanger. We'll get there. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just jump right into it, I guess. Before we jump into it, I actually wanted to give a plug for a very cool version of the Torah that I just came across called the Restored Ephraim Bible, the Torah, and this is the Torah is of course the first five books of Moses, uh, translated by Benjamin Thompson. This is kind of a new translation, but it uses the King James as like a base text. So a lot of the wording will be familiar to Latter-day Saints. Benjamin Thompson himself is a Latter-day Saint, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But this is a labor of love. I don't recall the how long this took, but this has been many years in the making, and he actually plans on doing the entire Bible. So that's why it's like the Restored Ephraim Bible. This is the Torah portion, though. So he's just like released this just recently. Actually, before this, he had released kind of the books separately as he had translated them. But this is so amazing because this book, I'm going to open it up so you can just see. I'll just open it up to a random page here. Hopefully you can see this. So you can see the wording on the top, and then he's got footnotes on the bottom, and he's got thousands of footnotes, nearly 3,000 footnotes, and these are not the standard footnotes that are in the LDS um, Bible, but these are footnotes that are kind of dealing with translation issues and kind of variants to the readings. And he has really done his homework here. He's translated from the Hebrew, so the Masoretic text, but has also compared it to the Septuagint, which is the ancient Greek
And
text.
that's something that really excites me to have like Septuagint elements in there.
Yeah, it's beautiful
Mhm.
and super useful. And
Because
then,
the
yeah,
Septuagint,
go ahead.
we've mentioned it before, but our earliest copies of the Septuagint are 1,000 years older than the Masoretic text.
And the current like Hebrew versions
And
or
the
the common Hebrew versions.
Right, and the King James comes from the Masoretic. So that Septuagint, even though it's written in Greek, has like 1,000 years less of textual impurities that may have crept in or, what
Yeah,
have you. So
yeah. Okay, let's see. He's also compares it to variants found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, the um, the Samaritan Pentateuch,
sweet.
and the Aramaic Peshitta.
Yeah.
So, and then of course he's also has the full Joseph Smith translation, like in there as well, and it's all notated so you can tell when this variant in the reading is like part of the JST or whether this like comes from the Septuagint or from the Dead Sea Scrolls or whatever. So, I mean, it's pretty amazing. So I recommend it. You can just pick it up on Amazon. We're Benjamin is not our sponsor or anything like that. I just picked this up and I'm very impressed with it so far. And it's got very useful cross references to the other LDS standard works, as well as to these other ancient sources. So he does have um, anyway, you can go check it out. Just look up Restored Ephraim Bible, Torah by Benjamin Thompson, available on Amazon.
And you can follow his YouTube channel, which is Restored Ephraim Publications.
Yeah, there it is right there. Let's see. Restored Ephraim Publications, YouTube. Okay. All right. Okay, so back to the Torah portion. It starts off, came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. Now, of course, the river here is the Nile, because that is the river, right, in Egypt.
A cradle of civilization, as they call it.
Yeah, one of them, right? Before this, just to review, right, the last portion kind of ended off with the two of Pharaoh's servants having their dreams interpreted, the baker and the butler, or the wine taster, the cupbearer, and Joseph interprets their dreams. The baker, he gets killed. The butler, the cupbearer, he gets restored, and Joseph says, "Remember me, when you see this dream comes true, and you're back in Pharaoh's service. Remember me here in the dungeon, and maybe something good will come of that." But it says that the butler did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. Yeah, sad.
Seems hard that, like, I'd like to think if I were the butler that I would have remembered that, you know. Maybe he didn't want to test his luck or anything like that. Just got let out. I don't know. I can only imagine. But
Uh, well, it's going to come up. Something is going to remind the butler, and it is that Pharaoh dreamed a dream, and this is a big dream, and it's a famous dream. And of course, it says he's standing there by the Nile, by the river, and there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine, or cattle, right, fat-fleshed, and they fed in the meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the bank of the river. And it's kind of it's a little bit ominous, right? That these thin cows, um, they don't they don't start grazing as cows do, but they just like stand by the fat ones. Uh, and maybe the fat cows are a little bit nervous, like, hey, like there's plenty of grass here.
what are you guys
Like, what are
doing?
you doing? They reveal themselves to be carnivores, and worse than carnivores, cannibals, right?
Can I tell a funny story?
Yeah, please.
Me and in I lived in Rexburg for 4 years, and there's a park outside of town, like a kind of a thicketed area. It's not forest land because it's in the middle of farmland. It's completely surrounded by farmland. It's like 15 minutes outside of town.
Okay.
But it's like a thicket. There's a river. A lot of people go fishing there. There's like trees and stuff like that. Anyway, there's a moose family that lives out there, and on different occasions I've seen the bull, the mama, the calf. Anyway, you don't want to encounter a moose, right?
Oh,
One time, my friends and I were in.
powerful animals.
They could destroy you. One time, my friends and I were in between the mama and her calf,
Oh,
so we like backed out of there. But
yeah.
anyway, we're on the other side of the river later that day. We're fishing, and I kid you not, we see, we hear something coming toward us. We see trees falling down, like we're in Jurassic Park. So we run. We're freaked. So we get to this river, and we start ripping our boots and socks off to cross this river. For some reason, like I didn't want wet socks, even though,
You really mean pursued by
yeah.
the forest creature.
But it's my friends are like frozen in fear, and we look, and these trees are coming down, and what emerges from the trees, not an angry moose, but a herd of little cows.
Oh,
So we always joke about the bloodthirsty cows that nearly killed us.
that's funny.
Yeah, but they were
Okay.
like smaller than us. They were tiny cows, and it was
Whoa.
just like it reminded me these savage cows.
Savage cows.
Yeah,
Ominous.
yeah.
Well, the fat-fleshed cows didn't feel the fear that you felt,
Okay.
but they should have probably. They should have run,
Yeah.
but they didn't. They stood there, and then, like much to Pharaoh's horror, right? They get devoured
Hmm.
um, by the ill-favored cattle. And then it says, right, Pharaoh awoke, like it was like a nightmare. It was a nightmarish thing to witness. He goes back to sleep though, and he dreams a second time, and a very similar dream, right? But he sees These stalks of corn, and of course, corn doesn't mean maize, which is like the what we make popcorn out of and stuff. But corn in English just means grain of any sort, right? So this could have been some kind of wheat or kamut, if that's kind of the Egyptian wheat or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so seven stalks, with seven ears. Corn came up. Oh, see, it says one stalk, but seven ears on that one stalk, and they were rank and good. And then again, seven thin ears of corn, blasted with the east wind, so kind of shriveled and dehydrated, sprang up, next to them. And then if the cows eating other cows wasn't strange enough, here we have this grain eating the other grain, like we have something that doesn't even have a mouth, supposedly, right? And again, Pharaoh awoke. Again, it says it was a dream, but it was a nightmare, very troubling to Pharaoh. A lot of times we have dreams, and they're just like immediately forgotten.
We know that they're not divine, right? They're just random dreams.
Yeah, right.
Hmm. Yeah, there's Pharaoh knows that these dreams mean something, and there's a troubling spirit about these dreams, it seems.
Yeah. I wonder if there's something in that about the chief butler forgetting Joseph. Um, in the common, like, I wonder if that's kind of a pun on the way that dreams are forgotten. And this is like
Mm.
it's all tied in to dreaming and dream imagery and stuff.
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a thought that came to me. But okay, so it's troubling. Um, this is a vivid dream, and Pharaoh's, and it's happened like twice in one night, and so this is like deeply impressed. And he says his spirit was troubled, and he sent for all the magicians, the wise men, with the soothsayers, right, the astrologers, everything. And it says that none could interpret the dream to Pharaoh. And this is very reminiscent for those of you who know about other parts of the Bible. Of course, this is like Nebuchadnezzar's dream, right, with Daniel and the wise men. Now here um, it says they could not interpret, but probably what that means is they could not interpret satisfactorily to Pharaoh's satisfaction.
Nothing rang true.
Yeah, he knows that they're lying to him or just
Aw.
making up garbage, yeah, or they don't know and are pretending that they know. Um,
Or maybe they're perplexed. Maybe some are just like,
maybe,
I
yeah,
can't get a reading on this one.
right. Now in Jasher and also the Jewish um, commentator Rashi, there's there's like stories that all of the that they offer all of these um, alternative interpretations. Like the seven fat cows is means that Pharaoh's going to have seven daughters. It's a little bit funny, but
Yeah, it is.
and then the seven thin cows is like means that Pharaoh's seven daughters are going to die.
Mm.
And then the 7 years of corn are like seven cities that Pharaoh's going to build, and then but then those cities are going to be destroyed in Pharaoh's lifetime. And there's just like the book of Jasher actually has a bunch of like interpretations, and Pharaoh's like, no, 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 that is not it. And somehow Pharaoh knows, or maybe like he knows somehow that those dreams are not right. But and in it doesn't have it here in Genesis, but in Jasher, there's actually more similarity to Nebuchadnezzar, where Pharaoh is like, okay, like if you wise men, magicians will not tell me the true interpretation, I am going to put you to death. And then Pharaoh's butler remembers um, Joseph. He says, "I do remember my faults this day," and he tells him about Joseph, a Hebrew servant of the captain of the guard, um, and he was in prison and he interpreted the dreams, and they were correct and true. And so Pharaoh sent and called Joseph. And in verse 14 here of chapter 41, it says, they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved and changed his raiment and came in unto Pharaoh. So
The Egyptians believed in being clean shaven and even clean shaven everywhere, right?
yeah, right. Which is actually a unique thing in the Middle East.
Yeah, everyone else, beards are good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, but it's interesting. There's Joseph's life is like this, like has this like chiastic structure, right? And we talked about it last time. It's like he like sinks down and then rises, and then sinks down and then rises, and sinks down and rises, right? He's just so chiastic kind of in that way.
You know, Avraham Gileadi has a phrase that I really love, and it's true. It's a true pattern. Humiliation before exaltation.
Yeah.
And he's not talking about like exaltation to the highest celestial glory. He's talking about
Hmm.
um in this life, humiliation before exaltation. It's the ebb and flow. It's how it goes.
Interesting. And that, yeah, that is like that's the pattern. Like, and Jesus sets the pattern for us, right? Yeshua says, I descend below all things, right? Like the ultimate humility, condescend, in
And
order to,
suffering.
yeah, in order that I might like conquer and rise above all things. Paraphrase,
Yeah, and
but
it's the hero's journey
hmm,
over
hmm,
and over again.
hmm, right. That's right. Yeah,
It's trouble at home, exile abroad, happy homecoming.
amazing.
And it's funny because that's coincidentally, that's like the Egyptian pattern for storytelling.
Hmm,
That's like all their stories were trouble at home, exile abroad, happy homecoming.
hmm.
But yeah,
Well, you can tell in this story that Joseph is on the upswing here. Really, I mean, he goes into prison and he rises to the top of the prison, right? He becomes like the chief of the prison
the
or whatever.
head prisoner,
Yeah.
as I like to call it.
Um, but you can tell that things are really looking up here because he, on the other side of the story, he actually loses his clothing. I mean, he lost his, okay, the first time he lost the coat that his
Mm.
father had given him, thrown into the pit. Okay, then he gets sold as a slave. But when he's in Potiphar's house, like he gets new clothes. So that's like the reverse, right? Because he gets made an officer, under Potiphar, right? But then those clothes get taken and he gets thrown into the dungeon, into prison. And now it says they pull him out and give him new clothes. So, so he's got new clothes. He comes before Pharaoh, and Pharaoh says, "I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it." And there's interesting. There's a little bit of Hebrew wordplay here too, because Pharaoh says, "I heard that you can understand dreams," and Pharaoh actually says Shama twice. So hear and understand are like the same word in Hebrew, or they can be. And so and Joseph says, "It's not me, but God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace." And it's interesting, actually, throughout the dialogue between Pharaoh and Joseph, that Joseph never uses the term Yehovah, but he always uses the term Elohim, which is interesting because it to to Joseph, it can have a singular meaning, right? But Elohim is actually a plural word that just means gods. And so, uh,
Yeah, in the ancient Near East, there were gods appointed over every nation, and
mhm,
Yehovah, he is the Most High God in truth.
right.
But Joseph is speaking Pharaoh's language here. They
Yeah,
both believe in a Most High God, and so Joseph is being wise about how he speaks, right? Because
right,
Yehovah isn't, he is relevant to the Egyptians, but not in the Egyptians' point of view.
right,
That, Aman or Amen, Ra,
right,
those would be like the Most High gods in the Egyptian pantheon.
right, right. So Joseph says literally, um, the interpretation is not in me, but the gods shall give Pharaoh an answer.
The Elohim or Elohim, right? The
Yeah,
gods, yeah.
the gods shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. Um, now, and this kind of shows what Pharaoh's looking for here, because the answer that Joseph gives isn't really I don't know. I mean, it's shalom, I guess, but it's not really the dream isn't all rosy,
Mm-mm.
right? That's not what it's saying. But he's gonna give Pharaoh an answer that will satisfy him and bring peace to him and the peace that comes from understanding, right? Even though there's going to be some bad things, we're going to there's going to be good things too, right? So okay, Pharaoh repeats the dream, the dreams actually, right? Or what Pharaoh thinks are dreams, but then Joseph actually tells Pharaoh that the dream is one, that you actually had one dream and God repeated it for emphasis, and God has shown Pharaoh what he's about to do. And of course, the the seven good cows and the seven good ears are 7 years. He says, and the dream is one, right? And these 7 good years are going to be like bumper crop years, where there's going to be an abundance of grain and whatever else um, Egypt might be growing. And so, and then the seven thin ears and the thin cows, those are going to be 7 years of famine. That is going to follow on the heels of the 7 good years. And then it's kind of interesting because Pharaoh did not ask for the next bit of advice. Like Joseph actually takes it upon himself to give Pharaoh advice and tells him what Pharaoh should do in order to use this information to his benefit. And that is right to appoint someone who's wise over your affairs to like manage the like collection of the excess grain in the first 7 years so that it can be like rationed out in the 7 lean years, and then you'll save save life and save Egypt. So, and Pharaoh is impressed, I guess, and realizes one way or another that this is the correct interpretation. How do you think he knew this was the correct one and the other ones weren't? There's thought of it.
Yeah, I think Pharaoh was moved upon by the Spirit. I mean, how else would he know?
Yeah, I
I,
think
uh,
so.
I mean, yes, he's not part of the covenant, the everlasting covenant,
Hmm.
and who knows how wicked or righteous he may have
Neither
been.
was Nebuchadnezzar.
Yes, but God does work with leaders of the nations, right? God to
Right.
fulfill His purposes. He tries to inspire, and we see that. Well, even with Caiaphas, Caiaphas prophesied
Mm.
by the
Hmm.
Spirit
Right.
according to the New Testament.
Yeah.
Um, so, and it doesn't seem like Pharaoh was a terrible guy, but he did his quickness to like have his servants executed or imprisoned is a little distasteful to modern sensibilities.
Yeah.
But
Right.
anyway, I would say the Spirit. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah. I would say so. Um, I think he probably, although he didn't know the interpretation, I mean, there's the possibility, and this is the same with Nebuchadnezzar too. Um, there is the possibility that he did know the dream, like in some like subconscious part of his mind, but it wasn't. He knew it, but it wasn't known to him.
Yeah,
But he could tell that all the other interpretations were not matching.
because there was dissonance between what he knew deep down and
Yeah,
what they were
right,
saying.
right. So, okay. Um, in Jasher, Joseph actually gives him a sign, which is has to do with he says you're gonna give birth to a son, and one of your sons is gonna die. Um, and anyway, so that's just another possibility. But so the the advice that he gives Pharaoh is to during the good years to take up the fifth part um, of the land in the 7 plenteous years. So fifth part of the land, I mean that probably means a fifth part of the grain, like the of whatever excess. Um,
That's a steep tax.
yeah, 20%.
I mean, that's what we're doing today.
Right.
And our
Uh,
founders are rolling in their graves.
yeah, 20%. Yeah, it's double tithing.
I was just gonna say double tithe, but it's necessary.
Yeah, and it was in in that bounteous year, those bounteous years rather, um, that 1/5 wasn't needed. Actually, they didn't
Oh
suffer,
yeah,
right?
it's not like it was such a
It
burden,
wasn't burdensome.
right? Because they were already in excess.
It might have been relieving, actually. Be like, oh gosh, I had all this extra grain. I didn't even. I was gonna have to build some more barns to hold more silos,
Yeah.
right, to hold this all. But if we're just gonna keep it in the national repository, then that'll be great.
Joseph had a lot of opportunities to obtain this wisdom. One, he's illuminated by the Spirit. To give Pharaoh this suggestion, you
Hmm.
know. Two, though, he has experience in managing affairs. He managed Potiphar's affairs. He managed the jailer's affairs,
Yeah,
and he was also raised by Jacob and as a prince, literally a prince, a tribal priestly prince. And so he not only is his wisdom coming from God, but he has experience by this time
right.
in some unlikely places.
Yeah. Um, this is just an interesting little gee whiz, and this is not going to be, excuse me, this is not exactly correct, but I did a little algebra on the 7 fat years and the 7 lean years, and to figure out kind of like how big the crop was in the good years
Okay.
in order to have enough for the lean years. You want to hear
Okay.
what
Yeah.
it turns out to be?
Please.
So there's a couple of assumptions here, and these are, well, as we'll see, this kind of turns out to be incorrect. Okay, but with these assumptions that um, that let's say in a good year, a normal year is just uh, the crop is 100%, okay, or like one. We're gonna give it the value of one. So then in the fat years, there's enough so that the grain from the 7 fat years minus 1/5 from each year amounts to the same as there would be during 7 normal years. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. So we make that assumption. And then we also make the assumption that during the lean years, during the famine years, that the grain production wasn't actually zero. It was just like less than would less than a normal year, so that people are going to be starving. Right? Like the Nile wasn't dry for 7 years straight.
Mhm.
It just maybe, there just wasn't as much rain, so it wasn't flooding as quite as far as it normally did, and so they weren't growing as much crops. Okay, so those are the assumptions. So and then assuming that it's just like that in the lean years, it's whatever the lean years are producing plus 1/5 of the fat years, adding up to be like a normal year again. Okay. So with that in mind, then um, in the fat years, um, the grain production was 5/4 of a normal year, or 125% of a normal year. And then in the in the thin years, it was only 3/4, so 75% of
Okay.
like a normal production.
Sure.
And that's kind of what it works out to be. Now, this is just kind of a swag here because it turns out that in the thin years, it actually had to be more than a normal year for Egypt because the famine actually extends beyond Egypt, and like people from other nations also are being supported by Egypt. So anyway,
So the
but
local
we don't know how much grain was needed for the other ones, so we can't do the algebra.
what you're saying is the maximum production of the fat years was probably a little bit higher than that, and the
Right.
production of the lean years was probably a little bit lower than that then.
Maybe, or it could have been the same.
Okay.
We don't know, but probably the production of the fat years was higher than 125% of like a normal harvest. Yeah. Okay, so regardless, 1/5 is sufficient. So Pharaoh thinks this is great, and and basically says to Joseph, "This is a brilliant plan, and I agree with you that a wise person should be chosen, and you seem to be the wisest guy in the nation, and so I'm going to give you the job." So amazingly, so amazingly, uh, like Joseph is about to be elevated again. So in verse 42 says Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand. So this is not just a piece of jewelry, right? This is Pharaoh's signet. So Joseph having this means that he is Pharaoh.
Literally, when he speaks, it is Pharaoh speaking.
Yeah, when he sends out a decree and stamps it with his ring, those are the words of Pharaoh.
He's his vizier,
That's
his
right.
right-hand man.
Right. So, and then it says, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen,
Wow.
put a gold chain. So he gets a new clothes again. So he's like lost um, two sets of clothes and like gained two sets of clothes, I guess. Right?
In every instance here in these cycles, his humiliation and exaltation always have a greater and greater disparity between the two.
Yeah.
And luckily, this is the final.
Yeah.
This is like he's not going to be humiliated again.
Now, I think this is really cool because there is one one other place and a close second, but one other place where someone an Israelite gets elevated to like second in command to a foreign king, and the other one is Mordecai in the book of Esther.
And he also receives a ring.
He receives a ring and the robe. Yep, and is able to like write decrees in the king's name, and both Joseph and Mordecai, and Esther's like right there too. She's also kind of second in command as well, but because she's the queen, not the king, right? But then so Esther and Mordecai, I'll kind of put them together. Um, but these two, like Joseph, these two stories, Joseph and then Mordecai and Esther, they they also have this commonality that they save their people. Joseph from like the starvation of the famine, and Esther and Mordecai from the plans of the evil Haman, right? But this is really cool because do you know which tribe Esther and Mordecai are from?
Is it Benjamin?
It is Benjamin.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is Joseph and Benjamin. So the two sons of Rachel, they actually go on to become second in command to foreign kings, and in so doing, like save Israel. So just to show the like the importance of uh, Rachel's children in the overall story of Israel. So the other one that's similar to this is Daniel.
Oh yeah.
Daniel is also like elevated to Daniel doesn't end up like saving Israel necessarily though, but he is put in that same position as well, and
He
also interprets dreams, and so
and do we know that he's from the tribe of Judah?
he is from the tribe of Judah. Yeah,
Okay.
right. Yeah. Okay. So this is really cool because there's just like temple and priestly imagery going on here.
Clothing and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. Clothing, right? His elevation, um, and a name change. Gets a new name.
Yeah. Zaphnath Paaneah.
Yes. And also gets married, which is also a priestly thing. Because if you are if you are the king or the priest, like you are God's representative. And so being
And
married,
guess what? In all these ancient cultures, God has a wife.
God's married. God is married, and so his represent in order to be his representative, you have to be married as well.
And this is called Hieros Gamos, sacred marriage.
Right. Amen.
And yeah, you literally have clothing, a new name, and a marriage. I mean, it's not an accident. that these elements just happen to come
all
together.
at the same time. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
And so yeah, now you have some things to say about
Yeah, can
a
we
Senate. You want me to keep reading a little further?
yeah, I'll let you know when I want to bring that up.
Okay, this is really cool too because um, it says actually a little bit about her that she was the daughter of Potipharah. Potipharah is actually like the full name of his former master,
Is that real?
Potiphar.
So I've heard,
Potiphar.
is that actually, is it the same Potiphar?
Probably not the same, but the probably not the same individual, but it is the same name.
Yeah,
And so this is just part of the the poetic storytelling here.
redemption.
The redemption, yeah, that and it was Potiphar's wife was like trying to push this like illegitimate union onto him, but now Joseph is worthy of like illegitimate union, not with not with the wife of Potiphar, but with his daughter,
Hmm.
right?
Again, poetic, not the same Potiphar, but
Right.
it's parallelism.
Yeah. Because here it says like the other Potiphar was a military officer or perhaps the executioner of Pharaoh. But this Potiphar was the priest of On, and
Mhm.
On is not a deity, but On is a place,
Is it Heliopolis?
and it is Heliopolis, yeah,
Yeah, and
which
there's
is a very cool thing as well. Heliopolis is cool because this actually becomes later on becomes the site of a Jewish temple, an
during
Israelite temple.
during the Second Temple period.
Uh, yeah, it is. Actually around the time of the Maccabean revolt,
Yeah,
and it's because of the corruption that is happening to the priesthood because of like Greek influence. Like the office of high priest is being bought and sold, and becomes like a politically appointed by like the Greek emperor and stuff like that,
yeah.
for whoever will like bribe him for it with like by stealing from the temple treasury. Okay, and so the legitimate high priest, whose name is Ananias, this is just a little historical tangent here. He actually leaves. The legitimate high priest leaves and goes to Egypt and builds a temple there. And and that temple actually stood from the time of the Maccabees. This is I don't know exactly when it was built. Is somewhere around 160, 170 BC, something like that, till 73 AD. So the temple in Jerusalem was destroyed in 70, and then the Romans are like, "Hey, there's another Jewish temple over here. Let's get rid of that one as well." So,
It
which
is
they did,
pretty, well, it's very amazing that there was a Jewish temple, a second Jewish temple though, outside of Jerusalem. I mean,
operating simultaneously
yeah, it's
and legitimately.
and legitimately it's
Yeah, and the like the Pharisees and stuff like they at the time of Jesus and like in between when the temple at Heliopolis or sometimes called Leontopolis um between when it was built and when it was destroyed, like it was considered valid, although I will say that there was like a rivalry between the temples. Okay, we don't need to get into all that. But they actually allowed it because in Isaiah chapter 19 is an interesting prophecy about a temple, like a legitimate temple in Egypt. I'm going to read it. Okay. This is Isaiah chapter 19, starting at verse 18. In that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan. That's Hebrew.
yeah.
And swear to Jehovah of hosts, one shall be called the city of destruction. It's interesting. In the Masoretic, it says that it's the city of destruction, but in the Septuagint and the Dead Sea Scrolls, it's the city of the sun, it's
Okay.
Heliopolis. So, but
Interesting.
they like kind of like someone wanted to obscure that fact. Okay, city of destruction. Okay,
Yeah, rabbinic scribes do not like Egypt or Mesopotamia.
yeah,
So they dig at Egypt and Mesopotamia, like in ways similar to what you just described.
Okay. So it says, in that day there shall be an altar to Yahovah in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to Yahovah. And it shall be a sign and for a witness unto Yahovah of hosts in the land of Egypt. For they shall cry unto Yahovah because of the oppressors, and he shall send them a savior and a great one, and he shall deliver them. And Yahovah shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know Yahovah in that day, and shall do sacrifice and oblation, yea, they shall vow a vow unto Yahovah and perform it. These are all like things that you do at the temple. Vow vows, do sacrifices and oblations. Um, okay. Uh, I'll read. Well, I won't read the rest of the. But basically, it says Egypt. It'll be punished. Egypt will be healed, and Egypt and Assyria. It says this is amazing. Actually, it says Egypt and Assyria are going to be numbered with Israel in some future time, saying that these are my people. Now, so this has interesting symbolism, like direct symbolism in the old world, but there's also some really interesting symbolism in the new world as well, because I don't know, you're probably, I mean, I know you're familiar. You're more familiar with Abraham Gileadi than I am, but doesn't he say when Isaiah talks about Egypt that the double meaning is
America.
America?
The Egypt was the superpower for much of ancient Near Eastern history, and America is the empire. It's the superpower.
Right.
And so there, if you're not, I mean, yes, there is historical context for Isaiah and his prophecies, but all Hebrew prophecy experiences multi-fulfillment. And yes, absolutely, America is, you know, a fulfillment of that.
Yeah.
I think we'd be foolish not to think so.
So, yeah, in someday there's going to be a temple to the Lord in America, right?
What? Get out of town.
Um,
Maybe in the boundaries of the everlasting hills or something. I don't know.
yeah, or in the center place.
In
Yeah.
the center place, especially.
Yeah, or both. Yeah. There's actually anciently there was more than one temple in Egypt and more than one temple in America too. And at different times, right? We have the Nephite dispensation and our modern dispensation as well. Other cool thing is he mentions Assyria. And like, what is Assyria most famous for, like in biblical chronology, as far as like its interactions with Israel? It's the taking captive, the northern kingdom, taken captive by Assyria, right? And then went off to the north and to the west. Um, and so, like Israel um, became assimilated in some respect, like with Assyria, like the lost tribes are Assyria in a way, right? And that obviously has um, bearing on the Latter-day Church because we claim like lineage through those tribes that were dispersed by Assyria.
Dispersed from the Black Sea all the way to Britain, to
Right.
America,
To America, to Egypt.
to Egypt, back to Egypt.
Right? So, okay. So really cool things there.
Excellent.
Okay. Where was it? Where was it? Oh, okay. You have some more things you want to say about a Senate?
It's going to mention their children soon,
Okay.
so I'll wait till then.
Okay, great.
Verse 51 is where or
Okay, excellent.
52, 52 is where I'll mention that.
So, so Joseph gets elevated. He gets the robes. He gets the authority. He gets the seal. He gets a wife, and he starts doing his job very well. And it says in verse 49 that he gathered corn or grain, right? He gathered grain as the sand of the sea, very much until he left off numbering, for it was without number.
It's like it was an abundant year or abundant period.
Yeah, and I think there's again a little poetic um, use of this corn as the sand of the sea. There's like an echo of the promise given to Abraham about his posterity being as the sand of the sea, right? Or sand on the shore, right?
Yeah.
Because it says he gathered corn as the sand of the sea, and then the next verse says, and to Joseph were born two sons. So
Hmm.
boom, there's his like the beginning. There's his first grains of sand, I guess.
Yeah.
um, which a senate daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bare unto him. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh or Manasseh. For God, he said, has made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. Now, it seems a little bit weird, the translation there, that Joseph would like celebrate that he had like forgotten his father's house. But Robert Alter, familiar with Robert Alter?
Yeah. Vaguely.
He's uh, he's a very celebrated translator of the Hebrew scriptures. In fact, I borrowed my daughter's copy. Here we go. Hebrew Bible translation with commentary. Robert Alter. So this is of the Torah. He actually has a 3 volume set. It's got the Torah, the prophets, and the writings. That's anyway. In here, he mentions that another maybe better translation is not that God has made me forget all my toil, but that God has freed me from all my debt and hardship.
Oh man.
God has freed me from all my debt and hardship, and from my father's house. So he's not that he's forgotten his father's house, but that he's been freed from the hardship caused by like by his brothers,
Yeah.
right? All the condescension and the humiliation that he's had to suffer because of his brothers in his father's house. That's all behind him.
All.
That's what he's saying. Not that he's forgotten them,
Yeah.
but that all the hardship and toil and debt that was incurred as a result of their actions is behind him.
You know, I know we need to have faith and hope, but when the rubber meets the road, there are hopeless nights, right? There are hard
Yeah.
times, and I can't imagine the hopeless nights just hanging on a thread, trusting his God, and also the shame, utter shame, being a servant and in prison. Yes, he did very well in those
Falsely
places,
accused
falsely accused,
without any recourse.
and the accuser's right there to whisper into your ear, like the accuser doesn't.
I got you.
He won't stop. So I mean, just to be free from this, what a godsend.
Yeah.
Literally.
Um, okay. Okay. And then the second son he called Ephraim, or
Ephraim.
yeah, Ephraim, we would say, but Ephraim is the more correct pronunciation, I guess. And he says, Ephraim, because God hath caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. And so Ephraim actually means fruits, um, or something like that, because the Hebrew word for fruit is pri,
Mm,
but in Hebrew, like in English, P sometimes makes an F sound.
yeah.
If and actually, when we have English words that use a PH, it's basically we English is like a grandchild linguistically of Hebrew,
Yeah.
and so that P making an F sound comes from the Hebrew letter pei, but when it makes an F sound, it's sometimes called fei. So pei and fei.
So the pri is
Yeah,
in Ephraim, that's fruit. So,
yeah, and then the im is like the plural,
right.
so it's pre im. Yeah,
Cool.
so he's going to be fruitful, and this actually is kind of a foreshadowing of the blessing that Joseph gets later on. So not to get there, but in not to go into too much detail, but later on, Joseph receives a blessing from Jacob, and Jacob says that Joseph was a fruitful bough that like went over the wall. And this again also is like a double fulfillment because one, Joseph here like went over into Egypt and was fruitful there, but also in like a larger interpretation of that is Joseph going not across the Nile, but across the ocean, right, to the other Egypt, which is America, and becoming fruitful there.
And we've mentioned it in a previous podcast, but that is the verse George Washington had his thumb on when swearing in as president
Yeah,
and
amen.
giving his inaugural address.
So Joseph has a really big role in everything, right? In the ancient story here, and in the connections to the Book of Mormon story, and of course to our modern day church as well. So
Let me mention what I wanted to mention now.
yeah,
So you guys should definitely read the apocryphal story of Joseph and Aseneth. It's I'm a romantic and it's a very romantic story. So
okay.
anyway, in a part of the story,
What's the if you remember just roughly like what's the source or like the provenance for this? This is a is this like a modern composition or is this is a
this is
an
like
ancient
this
book?
is ancient.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that early Christians had this one. I'm pretty sure they like this
Okay.
one. But I needed to do my due diligence and actually look
Okay.
that up. But it's old. It's not
It's not a mod.
modern.
This is an ancient
It's not
an ancient
medieval.
apocryphal
Right.
text. Okay.
It's ancient, not medieval, not
Hmm.
not modern. Anyway, so in this story, Aseneth, before her and Joseph are married, the God of Israel appears to her to comfort her for various reasons. You should read it and see why. So when he appears to her, he prophesies, "Your name shall be City of Refuge." He tells that to Aseneth. Who are Aseneth's children? Ephraim and Manasseh. What city are Ephraim and Manasseh called to build? The city of Zion, which is indeed also known
Cool.
as the city of refuge.
Right. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Oh, yeah. Huh. It's that's really beautiful because like so her name you could say like her name is synonymous with Zion.
Her name is synonymous with Zion. Like,
And so and from her comes Ephraim and Manasseh.
and from
And
them,
from them comes
the,
Zion.
the people who will build
Uh,
Zion.
uh, amazing.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool connection. I mean, I need to look more into the history of that apocryphal
How did
account.
Joseph Smith know?
Yeah, come on. He guessed, right?
Yeah, it's a very good guess. Okay, so we're on to chapter 42. So the famine, actually, before that, at the end of verse 41, it says the famine was over uh, the face of the earth.
The whole Near East.
Yeah. And all the countries came to Egypt, to Joseph, to buy corn because the famine was so sore in all lands. And of course, yeah, this doesn't necessarily mean the entire planet, but, everyone who could reasonably reach Egypt, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So Jacob is he comes across as a little bit perturbed at his sons. He's like, "Why are you sitting here looking at each other? There's corn in Egypt."
Like, why are you wondering what we should do? Why are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now there is actually a little bit of not controversy, but differences of opinion about what this phrase means or how it should be interpreted. Some other interpretations say, "Why are you afraid?"
Hmm.
Like, what are you like? Are you afraid we're gonna die? Like, get up and go to Egypt. We're not gonna die.
Also, like we're in the covenant. We're not gonna die.
Right. Yeah. Right. So go down and buy for us so that we can live and not die. That's what he says in verse 2. So now it's okay. Okay. So Joseph's 10 brothers went to buy corn in Egypt, but Benjamin, of course, he stays by. Says, "Lest mischief befall him."
Yeah, Jacob's burned, man. He lost Rachel's first son, and he's not gonna lose Rachel's second son.
Right.
The son, that preceded her death.
Right. I mean, he knew that someday Esther and Mordecai were going to need to be
Yeah.
around to save save the rest of his posterity. So,
Amen.
so okay. So they come. Um, and the brethren, they come before and they bow themselves down before Joseph, right? And of course they don't recognize him because he's quite a bit older now.
And
He's
he's
Yeah,
shaven.
he was 17 when they threw him in the pit, and now he's 30 or so.
Yeah, 30.
Yeah, 30. Um, yeah, and he's speaking Egyptian, and yeah, he's shaved, and he's probably got makeup on, and crown and robes, and so they don't recognize him, but they bow down to him, which is just like this fulfillment of his dreams, right?
Yeah.
A fulfillment of the first dream, at least, because, well, I think the first dream had to do with the sheaves of grain, the
Hmm.
corn. And so this is like definitely tied into that because they are coming because their corn in Canaan has failed, right? And his corn is standing up like he's got corn and they don't. So amazing. So he asked them about themselves. He recognized them, right? And um, says he knew them, and it says that he remembered the dreams that he dreamed. So interesting here that right that he talks about Joseph remembering. Again, this is like a dream imagery. Like Joseph could remember his dreams, and so he said, "You were spies."
Just accuses them right away.
Just accuses them. Yeah, just totally trolling them, and they are seriously backpedaling, and they're like, "No, we are true men, right? Not we're not spies. We're all one man's sons." And he said he just continues to accuse them. And they say, No, thy servants. And it's interesting that they call themselves his servants.
Yeah.
Because again, this is like this is his dream, right? But
Yeah.
they say, No, thy servants are 12 brethren, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. Behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not, meaning Joseph. So, like, there were 12 of us, 11 are left. We 10 are here, and one's at home.
Real quick, a few weeks ago, we went over the births of all of these sons of Jacob. How much older is Reuben, the oldest, than Joseph? Do you remember? Is it like 12 years older than Joseph or something?
Yeah, that's about right. Because I don't remember the exact, but he marries Rachel and Leah and Rachel in that like and uh, within that
14.
14-year span, um, then he is it 14? Well, he works 7 years and then like marries both of them, Leah first and then Rachel, and then works another 7 years for Rachel, and then he stays on
For 6 more years.
another year. So yeah, it's about yeah, and in that time, um, he has 11 of them, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
like
Dinah.
all of these guys are young. I mean, 40, especially when these guys are living to about 120 or
Yeah,
older. These guys are young. They're in their 40s and 30s.
yeah, they're very
The
young.
oldest is in his early 40s, so
Right. Yeah, Ruben is 40 something.
mhm.
So, okay. Let's see.
I've always pictured them as older, so I wanted to actually do the math and yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's good. Um, so he says, no. He says, this is how you're spies. I'm definitely sure you're spies. And but here's how you'll prove that you're telling the truth. Because he says, I noticed that you told me a little detail about your youngest brother. So you are going to go and get your youngest brother and bring him back here to prove that you're telling me the truth. Um, and he says, but he puts them all in prison. He says he puts them in ward 3 days. So they're sitting there, just like contemplating their life. And but he comes out and he lets them all go. Or he pulls them out and says, you need to go. Let's see. He says it. Well, I'm going to read verse 19. Verse 18. This do and live, for I fear God. If ye be true men, let one of your brethren be bound in the house of your prison, and go ye and carry corn for the famine of your houses, but bring your youngest brother unto me. So shall your words be verified, and you shall not die. And they did so. Okay. And it's interesting. It says they, while they were there, they started speaking to one another, and they said, "We are guilty concerning our brother," meaning Joseph, in that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us and would not hear. Right?
Mm.
We threw Joseph in prison.
Can you imagine
We threw him in the pit,
uh,
and he pleaded for us
him
to like,
calling out, "Please let me out, please"?
yeah. And
Oh,
here they are in prison saying, "No, we are telling the truth. We are
ugh,
true men. We are." Uh,
this is heavy stuff.
Yeah. Therefore is this distress come upon us. And Reuben answered them, saying, Spake I not unto you, saying, Do not sin against a child, and you would not hear. Therefore, behold, also his blood is required.
Oh, geez, yeah. Reuben tried.
He did,
He was
actually.
he was mean to cast Joseph to a pit, but he was trying. He was like, "All right, well, I'll take him back to dad." But then
Yeah. Then, yeah.
something else happens.
So just to review what happened there at the pit, um, at first it says that the brothers like conspired to kill him, and Genesis doesn't say, but Jasher says that that conspiracy to kill him was led by Simeon.
Hmm.
Okay. Then Reuben like calms him down and says, "Let's throw him into a pit in order to save him." Right? That was his
In
intention.
his heart, he's saying, "I'm just gonna have him in the pit, and then I'll take him
That'll
back
calm
when."
everyone down, and then yeah, we'll get him out. And then Judah also in an effort to save him or to like prevent his murder says, "Let's sell him instead
Judah. Okay, yeah.
instead of killing him."
Hmm.
Okay, and then of course that happens. So Reuben and Judah both try in their own way to save him. Simeon is the one, according to Jasher, that kind of instigated the whole thing in the first place,
He's bloodthirsty.
and he is bloodthirsty. Like we know that. Yeah,
Shechem.
yeah, right. One word. Yeah,
Shechem.
Shechem. So, so it's interesting that I mean it says Joseph understood them. He spake, but they didn't know because Joseph was speaking through an interpreter,
Yeah.
and then just like hearing everything they say.
Oh, that'd be awesome to be in that position.
Yeah. But it says, Joseph turned around and wept, And I mean, I bet this was like amazing for Joseph to hear this first glimmer of their repentance, right? To hear them like admit their guilt and their remorse and say, we are guilty. Okay. So, but he composed himself, right? And then communed with them, it says, he went and spoke with them and took Simeon and
Hmm.
bound Simeon in front of all of them and threw Simeon in prison, right?
All
And the
right.
rest get to go. And I'm sure that he picked Simeon just again for justice sake, right? Uh,
Yeah,
okay,
that's a good connection.
yeah. So amazing. So then he said, fill up the sacks with corn, and also put every man's money into his sack. So so it says they loaded up, right, departed. Um, and later on, when they had traveled for some time, and he wanted to give his ass provender, he like took down his sack, right, and he noticed that there was money. His money was in the mouth of the sack,
The money that they used to pay for grain.
the money that they paid. Yeah. Ugh. And he says, "What is this that God has done to us?" It's actually funny in Jasher. Um, because this happens a couple of times, right?
Hmm.
But in Jasher, um, there's a little extra piece here where the brothers are saying, or one of the brothers is saying, "What is God like? Why is God punishing us? Like, what is like we're supposed to be blessed? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their blessings and all of that. What has God done this to us?" And Judah is like, What do you mean? What has God done to us? We're guilty as sin. Like, we're not worthy of blessings. Why can you even say that? I can't believe God hasn't punished us more.
And we saw Judah's contrition last
Last time.
portion
Yeah,
with the whole Tamar incident.
right. Yeah, and so Jasper's showing that again. Judah's like, just like, no, like, Judah finds out that just admitting your sin is a
It,
good way to go.
it seems like Judah and Reuben, they understand. Both of them. It kind of seems like they get it, you know,
Uh-huh.
like wow, we've made some huge mistakes.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway,
You know what's interesting?
yeah, please.
Both of them engaged in sexual immorality, and both of them tried to get Joseph out of being killed. There's some parallelism between Judah
Mm.
and Reuben.
hmm There's more parallelism. I actually have it circled. They're like right, the verses are right next to each other in the LDS.
It's divine.
Okay. So they go back and they tell their dad, Jacob, Israel about this. And they're like, he said, we're spies. In order to prove it, we have to bring Benjamin back. And Jacob's like, no way, right? Um, Joseph is not, Simeon is not, and will you take Benjamin away? All these things are against me. And so then Reuben steps up and in verse 37 here and really kind of blunders here because he's like he's like, hey, you give me Benjamin, like Benjamin and Joseph are gone, or Benjamin and Simeon and Joseph are gone. But if I don't bring Benjamin back, then you can kill my two sons. It's like, way to put your neck on the line there, Reuben.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
I mean, maybe his heart was in the right place, but he didn't really say the right thing.
I've learned to be careful about making claims like that. I told God I'd never move to Utah,
Oh, look,
and he
there
laughed at
you are.
that. Anyway, this kind of echoes, I can't remember which judge, but he covenanted that if God let him win the battle or whatever, he would kill the first thing that came out of his door.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
his daughter comes out. No,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So anyway, so Reuben is showing yet again that maybe he shouldn't be the birthright son. Okay, because he's he's got some problems there. Okay, um, but Jacob says no. That doesn't convince him. He says if mischief befall him, Benjamin, then you shall bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave.
no legacy from Rachel in
Right,
Jacob's eyes.
right, yeah. So interesting this term mischief here. Um, and I don't have the Hebrew word, so I apologize, but it's used a couple of times. Um, but it basically means it could mean different things, but it basically means it's like a euphemism for death. Like
Hmm.
if he were to die or something akin to that, um, then I would just there would be the sorrow would be
Too much.
unbearable. Yeah. So, but it's interesting. This it's actually used only a few times, like five times or something like that. Another time though is in Exodus 21, 22, which we'll get to later, but it's talking about basically has to do with the death of a unborn fetus.
Mm.
And it says, and it uses this term, if mischief follow. Um, so that's just a little teaser, but anyway, there's some things that we can say about abortion that the Torah has to say about that. So, okay, well, so they don't do anything. They do not go back with Benjamin. They stay in Canaan and eat the grain that they got sent with until it's gone, and they are running out of options. Um,
And Simeon's just rotting in prison.
Indians rotting in prison, and they don't even. They're like, yeah. Jacob's like, you cannot take Benjamin back, and nobody says. well, what about Simeon? There's like, okay,
They just stayed until the grain was
pa-
gone.
pass the cracked wheat. Let's,
Time to re-up.
yeah.
Um, I can't imagine that Simeon was treated horribly. Joseph is a godly man. I mean,
Oh yeah, right. And Simeon's his brother.
yeah,
And
exactly.
he
Exactly.
yeah, not to spoil it, although it's an old story. But Joseph has forgiven them all by now.
Yes.
And especially when he sees and he's already seen glimmers of their remorse and their contrition and so on. So okay. Um so they run out of food, okay? And they need to go again. And so Judah speaks this time to Jacob and says, "We need to take Benjamin. Like we have to go get corn from Egypt. We don't have. There's nothing else is coming. God is not sending us any other help. This is what our option, our only option." But the man said, and it's Joseph, right? Said plainly, we cannot misunderstand. If you do not come back with Benjamin, you're all going into prison, and that's it. So now Judah says in verse 9 here, I will be surety for him. Like he pledges his own
Hmm.
life, um, rather than you can you can kill my sons if I don't do my part.
So
But
this is the other parallel between them, Judah and
yeah,
Reuben, a third
yeah,
parallel. They both pledged life
right.
on Benjamin's safe return.
That's right. Yeah, but Judah actually shows that um, he's the birthright son or a birthright
A
son.
birthright. Judah and Joseph.
Yes,
There's
that's right. By saying, "I will give my own life for Benjamin, should anything befall him," and this actually, and let me bear the blame forever, it says. Um, and so this combined with the fact that we're out of food, um, convinces Jacob to let Benjamin go. He says, "But you're going to take a present." Excuse me. Not that yawn. Present, little balm, little honey, spices, myrrh, pistachios, and almonds.
the finest things,
Yeah,
actually.
right.
Like, maybe they don't seem so fine
Mm.
in our crazy global economy.
Oh,
But this is like delicacy in
you're
the
right.
ancient Near East.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We truly are like the envy of the ancient kings. We could just eat avocados and mangoes and pistachios and and chocolate and honey and vanilla and cardamom and cinnamon and all the spices and all the delicious things and purified sugar and salt. Like salt used to be like the word salary comes from salt. Like people would be paid with salt because it was so
And
valuable.
that's where the phrase worth your weight in salt
Yeah, worth
comes
your
from.
salt. Yeah,
Worth your salt is, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, we just have yeah the envy of, and we have refrigerators.
And
We have
and
ice cubes at our command.
and in all the while being in a heated or cooled home.
I know.
Yeah, I need to think about that more when I'm
Yeah,
feeling down or
right.
ungrateful. I need to remember that.
Eat your heart out, Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Sure, you got a big pile of rocks there, a big pointy pile of rocks, but I got an air-conditioned house, so
Yeah,
Pharaoh would probably trade.
he probably would. I need to get like an Egyptian headdress so I can do that
Honey, I'm home, and you like, put on your
with my bracelets.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, enough silliness. So yeah, carry these delicacies present and also double money, right? Like take the money back. Jacob says maybe it was an oversight, you know.
Yeah.
So let's take that back just in case something went weird, and also extra money to buy more grain. So they they do that. They go back. They take um, they take the present and the double money and Benjamin, and they went down to Egypt. And Joseph saw Benjamin with them and says, and brought them into his house and said, "We're going to have a feast." Okay, and um, they were. Uh, Joseph's brothers were, of course, nervous though. They talk to the man who's like the head of Joseph's house, and they like right away, like right up front, explained. This is in verse 18. They were afraid because they were brought unto Joseph's house, and they said, because of the money that was returned in our sacks the first time that we brought in, that he may seek occasion against us and fall upon us and take us for bondmen and our asses. And they came near to the steward of Joseph's house and communed with him at the door of the house. And they explain, they try to explain themselves, okay, about it. And they're like, we paid, but then we found this, and it was not our doing. And we brought that money back plus extra money to buy more grain. And the steward of Joseph's house said, peace be unto you, fear not, your God and the God of your father hath given you treasure in your sacks. Um, I had your money. Like you paid your money. We're all good.
Don't worry about
Don't
it.
worry about it. And he brought Simeon out. Okay, so now all the brothers are united.
And
Okay.
Simeon's all scraggly and thin and has shackles on his.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure
No,
that.
Jasher says that he treated him very well.
I believe that.
And it was like a, oh man, just like a joyful but also fearful reunion.
Yeah,
And they're like, what is going
we're
on?
in the Vizier's home. Like,
Yeah, and we're still, even though he said it's okay with the money thing, we still have this guilt hanging over our heads from 20 years ago, selling our and all the horrible things we did, the things worthy of death that we did to Joseph, right? Ooh, so okay. So they got the presents ready for Joseph, and Joseph came home and says, um, again they bow down to him. This is interesting. Verse 26. When Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house and bowed themselves to him to the earth. And he asked them of their welfare and said, is your father well? The old man of whom ye spake, is he yet alive? And they answered. And so here's this amazing thing. You remember the first dream Joseph had was his brothers like stalks of grain, right? They're sheaves.
yeah,
And then the second dream, it's his brothers stars or as stars
yeah,
and the sun and the moon, which like the interpretation of that is his father and mother, or maybe mothers actually,
yeah.
because like the moon has like four phases,
Right.
um, four common phases that are, on the calendar. You can see it's new moon, uh, first quarter, second quarter, or sorry, new moon, first quarter, full moon, third quarter, and then new moon again.
Yeah, he has
Did I
four.
say that
Like,
right? Right.
yeah,
Yes. Anyway,
he does have four mothers, so
so
that.
it could be that as well, but regardless, um, when he tells that dream to Jacob, he says, "Are you saying that like I am going to be your servant as well?" But here, his brothers say, thy servant, our father, is in good health." Like they just declare that Jacob is Joseph's servant as well. So, just again, a fulfillment of the dream. Okay, and they bowed down their heads and made obeisance, which is,
Mm.
what the wording. Okay, so he lifted up his eyes, he sees Benjamin. Okay, and he says he had to leave. Joseph had to leave because his bowels did yearn for his brother. Okay, and he needed to weep. So, and I mean, the brothers are probably like, "What is going on?" Because like Joseph keeps coming in and like saying a few words and then like leaving because he has to go cry and then get his makeup, get his mascara fixed up, and then he comes in and like has to go cry again. Um, but he washed his face and came out and refrained himself and set on bread, right? And they had uh, the Egyptian servants were there as well. It's interesting in verse 32. It says, "They set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians which did eat with him by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptians. So the Egyptians didn't want the Hebrews to make them ceremonial and ritually unclean in some way. Okay. It's interesting that this there's one other place where the scripture kind of talks language like this, and it's in the New Testament,
Hmm.
and it's in Acts chapter 10, verse 28. I won't read it, but I'll just summarize. But Peter goes into Cornelius's house, and Peter says, "You know that it is against the law for a Jew to come into the house of a Gentile." But if you read through the law, there's actually is no such law. The only thing that comes close to it is an Egyptian law, where the Egyptians won't eat with foreigners. But here Peter is saying that it's like a Jewish law.
Tradition of the elders.
But yeah, but this law that Peter's talking about is actually a rabbinical law, a Pharisaical law,
Hmm.
not a Torah law.
Right.
So, and it may be something that they picked up from Egyptians.
And it's interesting because the Torah anticipates that strangers will be in their land and participating in different activities, and so
Hmm.
yeah, they're definitely not a law in Torah.
Right.
So it is okay for a Hebrew or an Israelite to eat dinner with a Gentile.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, amazingly, he sits all the brothers down according to their birth ages or whatever, and and they says they marveled one at another. They're like, whoa, like he
He
how did he
discerned,
know? He discerned, yeah, the undiscernible. I mean, you could probably tell a difference between Reuben and Benjamin,
yeah,
but
in between,
some of them are the same. They are they're I'm sure that there's some of them that share birth years,
hmm
because there's four mothers.
hmm
So, okay. So he set them all according to age and gave them all generous portions of food, but Benjamin got five times as much as everybody else. And I mean, everyone's just like wondering what is going on here. So that brings us to
and okay, yeah,
chapter 44. Got more to say?
nah,
Okay. Okay. So they had a good time.
they were merry,
They were merry.
and that's good.
Yeah, they were merry. Yeah. They drank and were merry. So, yeah, the Hebrew actually like implies that they were drunken, like a merry drunkenness.
At least buzzed,
Hmm.
at the very least.
Right. Okay. So they go to leave. He says, "Go ahead. Yeah. Uh, give them some more grain and as much as they can carry, and then put every man's money back in his sack again." And he's just like it's like cat and mouse.
He's telling his steward this, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, but Joseph's playing cat and mouse, right? You ever seen a cat play with a mouse?
Hmm.
Like, got you, let him
Let it
go.
go.
Got you, let him go.
The thrill of the hunt,
Yeah, right.
right?
Okay. And then in the youngest, um, let's see, in youngest, he says, "Put my cup, the silver cup, into Benjamin's sack." Now, later on, of course, they leave, right? And like they leave, and then Joseph says, "Go get them." Like after they've been gone for a little bit. Go get them. They stole my cup, and go find out who did that. So they go and of course, they find the silver cup in Benjamin's sack, and you could imagine probably that this would be very distressing to Benjamin,
They were almost out of there.
and I mean it'd be very distressing to Benjamin because
Yes.
he would just be bewildered, like he knows he's innocent,
Mhm.
and yet he has no, and yet there's damning evidence against him, and he doesn't really have an alibi.
Yeah.
He was there. Um, he was there in Joseph's house, right? Like he had like opportunity and motive and what are the I don't know what the the legal requirements are, but like he had the opportunity. Um, now, so that would be very distressing, but which is a little bit weird because Benjamin wasn't part of the crime of the other brothers, and so why would Joseph want to distress him that way? So the book of Jasher actually says that Joseph takes the opportunity to tell Benjamin ahead of time, like while they're at the party. Joseph uh, tells Benjamin that he is Joseph and that he's gonna like play a trick, and so puts the and just tells him to play along. So anyway, so I tend to believe that because I don't think Joseph is trying to teach Benjamin a lesson. He's trying to teach the rest of them a lesson, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so they come, they find it there, and so if Benjamin wasn't in on it, it would have been very distressing to him, and the other person that it was probably most distressing to would be Judah, right?
And I would say Reuben as well, but Judah for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, Reuben didn't Jacob didn't take up Reuben on his offer, you know.
True.
But okay. So it says, they came back and says they fell before him on the ground. This is verse 14 of 44. And Joseph said unto them, What deed is this that ye have done? Uh, didn't you know that such a man as I can certainly divine? In other words, and by divine, you're talking about divination. Like, don't you know that I can tell things through spiritual means? Like, I can see things, and I know. And like, didn't you see me like sit you all according to birth order? You know. And Judah, here's Judah piping up again. What shall we say unto my Lord? What shall we speak, or how shall we clear ourselves? God hath found out the iniquity of thy servants. Behold, we are my Lord's servants, both we and also he with whom the cup is found. Now, interesting that in Hebrew there's one word for servants and also like slaves, and that is eved. That's the word, and you just can tell the difference by the context. So when when the brothers first come, their first visit, like they say, "My Lord," and they say, "We are your servant, your humble servants." That's just like a politeness in their speech.
It's hospitality.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
it's
it's kind
toward
of the opposite of it's yeah. It's part of that hospitality culture, right?
yeah.
It's out of politeness, and they're saying, "We are your servants, your humble servants." I mean, we not so much now, but even in English, in former generations, George Washington would sign his letters, your faithful servant, George Washington, or whatever, that kind of language. But here they're now saying levied in the sense of actual slaves. We are your prisoners and your slaves. Um, and so Joseph says, no, God forbid that I should do that, like have you all as my servants. Rather, the man in whose hand the cup is found, he shall be my servant. And as for you, the rest of you, get up in peace and go to your father.
No.
And yeah, Judah, we'll get to this next time, but Judah's like, I promised. I can't. We can't
Yeah.
do that. So maybe we'll get
Yeah.
there next week.
But that's the cliffhanger.
That's the cliffhanger. Till next time,
Shalom.
go follow Yeshua.
Do it.